My degens, I think that Zenless might really have been a fighting game after all. Because Leiter, our next character after Yanagi, absolutely feels like he came right out of Tekken or Street Fighter or something like that, which is actually nuts. So today, I'm bringing you a first impression video on Leiter, and for a lot of reasons, my first impression is already, I'm just gonna spoil it for you, I'm actually really freaking impressed. Less about the kit, like the kit is really cool and all of that, but the way that he plays, wow. That said, I will stop edging you guys, and so let's just get into it. And as always, this content is from the creator beta server, so things may change. Alright, so to kick things off, here are his animations in his character status screen. I do really like switching between the skill and the base stats because he's like, Megane, 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 Megane. Fantastic animations as usual. I'll just run through them and then show you that for today's video, this is what our Leiter looks like. 190 impact, as you can see, as usual, orange highlighted. We've got a fat crit rate of 50%, 1.9k attack, just because, you know, the usual. Coming over to the skills, we've got everything fully maxed, and then 4-piece shock star for the main discs, and then 2 of the 20% energy regen. To top it off, we are going to be using this A rank W engine, which surprisingly gets us to 190 impact, which is quite a fair bit. That said though, the next thing I want to show you guys is his skill descriptions, because we got a whole ass PhD and then some in here. Like, look at all of this. It's actually really freaking dank. And this last one with the core skill and the additional ability, holy crap, man. I'm not going to try explain all of this to you using this, we'll just get into a more practical example. So that being said, let's jump right into Leiter himself. So the crux of Leiter is essentially, you see this blue gauge that is slowly filling up. This one over here. The gauge is called morale, and as you can see, it is passively filling up by itself. And so to fill up the gauge faster, what we actually do is we go into another character and use energy. So as you can see, Leiter's gauge is actually filling up. I'm going to use more energy over here, and it's filling up so much faster. So you can see that the gauge has gone from blue to purple now. And what that means is that he is ready for a quick swap into an Ora Ora. And so all you have to do is switch in and then hold left click and he will Ora Ora. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to reverse switch in and do it. So reverse switch in and Ora Ora right there. And you can see he is spending all of his morale gauge. Now what has also happened is that he has gained this 20 stacks thing over here. Let me come over to the effect details and you can see we've got Elation. And what Elation does is it gives our squad members, everybody, ice damage and fire damage. So it goes up to 20 stacks, and this 2.7%, this figure actually scales with your impact. More impact, higher damage. So in total, what we're saying here is that this will actually give our team 54% extra damage for ice and fire type. And look, that sounds freaking nuts, but that's not all. Because the enemy, when they get hit by the jabs, the Ora Ora, they also get ice resist and fire resist reduced by 15%, which means even more damage for your fire and ice characters. But hold up, that's not all, because at the end of the Ora Ora, he has a finishing punch, and if that punch lands, then the enemy will be stunned for 3 seconds longer, which is a fantastic generic buff. It's very much like Qingyi being able to plus 85% to the ratio, the damage multiplier when enemies are stunned. Plus 3 seconds, no matter the enemy. That's freaking cracked. And so in practice, this is what it looks like. The stun gauge is actually kind of like held hostage for 3 seconds. It's kind of pulsating with the gold. And then after 3 seconds are up, then it starts to deplete again. I think that this is really well done. The effect looks really good. And you're also able to see it for the smaller mobs as well. So that's pretty much the highlights of Leiter's kit, right? If I was to really reduce him down to his most simple form, that's pretty much what he does. Honestly, a really freaking crazy kit, because from a meta point of view, what frightens me is that if these are the kinds of buffs and debuffs that our stunners are getting, or like our defense unit, like Caesar, plus 1000 attack, minus 25% defense, or plus 25% damage taken, plus 50% elemental damage, whatever, what are our limited supports going to look like, right? Just food for thought, because if this is what our stunners are getting, what in the world are our supports gonna get? And actually, speaking of Qingyi, who is our only other limited stun unit, if I was to kind of compare them, I would probably say, personally, I would pick Qingyi over Leiter, simply because I prefer generalist buffs. However, his specialized buffs for like fire and ice, they are really high. But that, my degens, is from a completely meta point of view. because I do know that if you are a Qingyi player, there's a very high likely chance that you have developed RSI. Spamming the clang clang clang, the plap plap plap, the basic attack button, your hands are probably freaking screwed up. What is really nice about Lighter's inputs are that they are designed in a way that you're not going to get RSI, because you can actually hold down his basic attack button to use his entire string. I think at this point he is the only character that is able to do that. And so speaking of holding down the attack button, let's talk a little bit more about his actual playstyle. And the summary of it is that his movements feel like a fighting game character. Like if you have played Tekken before, he very much feels like a Tekken character, because when you basic attack, you can actually use a sidestep and kind of like pivot around your enemy. Not only that, you're also able to pick up where you left off from your combo. So if, for example, you're like basic attack 1, 2, and then sidestep, then you could actually resume 3, 4, and then 5 into your Ora Ora. And so this sidestep mechanic, it's a little bit different to a normal dodge. You can see that the animation is relatively different, but it does use the same cooldown and pretty much like acts the same. The difference is that the sidestep stores the combo counter, which means that you can resume it later, whereas dodges would reduce your combo counter back to 0. But what I think is the most impressive thing about this sidestep is that because you're pivoting around the enemy, it makes you feel like the experience itself. It makes you feel like Tekken. It makes you feel like a one-on-one. It's super epic. It's kind of like almost like boxing, right? It just really gets you locked in. It's that kind of vibe. All right, and so another cool feature is that when you Ora 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 and you don't hit anything, you don't actually waste any of that gauge. And to be honest, this is such a nice quality of life thing to see, because for example, with Bernice, you could be spraying like your flamethrowers into nothing because you're just slightly too far away, and you'll still be burning energy, which it feels really freaking bad. And so after that, what we have is his skill, and it feels pretty interesting. So with energy, it's an uppercut and then a downward smash. So it's actually 2 key presses, once and then twice. And what's cool about it is that after the downward smash, you can actually chain it into his basic 4 and 5 and go back into the Ora Ora. And then of course, as you're doing the basic 4, 5, you can also do the sidestep. And so it starts to like really branch out, and it starts again feeling very much like a fighting game. All right, and so aside from that, we've got his chain attack and his ultimate, both of which are kind of like very, very standard. It just does damage. There's not really very much going on there. So let's wrap up this kind of like kit section and talk a little bit more in terms of like how he actually plays. So the main team compositions that I've been able to try are Ellen, Lighter, Soukaku, and Soldier, Lighter, and Lucy. And so let me talk a little bit about each one. Let's start off with the Ellen, Lighter, Soukaku comp. I'm saying that we're going to replace the Lycaon with Lighter, and my god, it freaking works, right? It actually works really freaking well because Ellen has such a small cost skill. And so that low cost skill means that we're able to charge Lighter's gauge more often, and we can use his quick assist into the Ora Ora more often. I feel like he absolutely was meant to be paired with Ellen. In this case though, I do feel like the Soukaku unfortunately is letting down the team a little bit. I'll be really keen to kind of see who we can replace the Soukaku with. But right now, unfortunately, Soukaku has to be in the comp unless you decide you want to run double stunners, like Owen and Lighter plus Ellen, which is completely fine. And to be honest, Soukaku's main utility, yes, it's the flag, but it takes so long. It gives a lot of attack, but she's also honestly there to proc Ellen's passive. Then we've got Soldier, Lighter, Lucy. So this is actually a completely mono fire comp. I gotta say, it was actually really fun to play, especially because Lighter giving up those buffs, like the fire buff plus 54%, and then we've got like the fire resist down, it actually made my Soldier feel like a freaking queen. That plus the Lucy buffs, it actually just felt like a coherent team, and I was able to shred through content like it was nothing. It almost made it feel like this is what Soldier was supposed to be like. There was one weakness in this comp, and it's that the energy threshold required for Soldier to use her E skill, it's actually really high. And so what it means is that it might just get a little bit clutch in terms of getting Lighter's passive up so that he can come in and do the Ora Ora. That said though, generally speaking, it wasn't too big of a problem. All right, and so having played through these two comps, my conclusion is almost kind of like we don't have the right character for Lighter yet. From an ice point of view, Ellen, Lighter, Soukaku absolutely works, but I think we're missing that premium limited support, ice support, that would really elevate the Ellen Lighter team. And then on the other hand, we've got the Soldier, Lighter, Lucy team, right? If the Soldier was like a limited fire attacker, man, I think that Lighter's stonks will be like right now, his niche, his impact is actually massive, pun intended. But imagine when these rosters fill out with actually like limited attackers, limited supports. Oh God. It's gonna be freaking crazy, and Lighter is going to be the premium option. So yeah, that's kind of my first impressions in terms of like Lighter, how he plays, how he looks from a meta point of view, and how I think he's gonna go. Let me know what you guys think about Lighter. I personally think he's really cool, especially like the whole fighting game philosophy, the pivoting. Oh man, it really brings me back. But yeah, enough about me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. That said, this is the end of the video, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.